Syndicalism prevails in Ukraine. Fuck. After the Weltkrieg, Ukraine became a battleground between the pro-German hetman, the Bolsheviks, Makhno's Free Territory, and many other armed groups, and the hetman prevailed, but it turned out to be unpopular among the Ukrainians, and after an agricultural crisis and the infamous Black Monday, this hatred reached a breaking point. The famous Ukrainian syndicalist leader, Nikita Khrushchev, has led his Red Militias to dissolve the kingdom and declare the Ukrainian Socialist Republic. Time will tell whether this new entity will endure a German reaction, but this victory has strengthened the far-left positions across the Reichspakt. Even the Reichspakt is not safe. So... we have 11 divisions on that front. And I could... I could probably deploy my forces against Ukraine and try and crush them militarily. Alternatively, I could attempt covert operations to see if that deal with it, or we could just do nothing. I am honestly not sure where I want to go with this. Though it might be in my best interests to crush the Ukrainian scum. Set up the one battle plan. I'm also going to pull my divisions that we had along the border with the Netherlands. And send them to help out. The two of them together should be able to make some progress along that front. So delete my battle plan for Lithuania. Ironically, it wasn't the Lithuanians who rebelled here. You guys get yourselves over there. Nicaragua declares war on Honduras. Let's say the 1937 Dutch elections. Netherlands has traditionally been one of the most politically stable nations in Europe, and the Dutch people have for years been entrenched in their own institutional pillars, which have tended to undermine radical tendencies. Due to the economic chaos caused by the Netherlands' close ties to Germany and Mittleafrika, and the rise of the far-left Red Front and nationalist VNH, the country's political situation is more tense than it has been in many years. Despite the degeneration of domestic politics and the rise of the powerful left-list electoral bloc, the ruling CNA coalition was able to hold on in the recent elections, albeit with weakened majority. Unwilling to countenance a coalition with the Liberals or the right, the Conservative bloc has decided to govern alone. The Dutch do love their elections. Now, I'm going to try to get at least one army into position on the border here before I declare my decision concerning the Ukrainians. And the Commune of France is apparently justifying a war goal on us. Fucking French. The Philippines request support. Representatives from the recently independent Philippines have approached us as their president has come up with a plan to prevent a minor economic crisis in their country. They plan to expand their armed forces, thus increasing their industrial output and creating jobs for their people. They wish Germany to finance them on this task, which could prove useful. Not only would we prevent an economic crisis in that country, but we will gain a new friend countering Japanese influence in the Asia-Pacific area. I think I have no problem with this. We will finance the expansion and modernization of their army. Costs us a bit of consumer goods factory usage, but that's it. 9 days left. We've got our second army on its way over. The DKA. Hold on. Turkestan Khanate has declared war on the Alash Order. And as I was saying, the DKAEB goes bankrupt. Our decision to try to keep them running was indeed a short-sighted one, and despite our attempts to revive it, they've gone bankrupt, so we lose some political power. But I'm not exactly short on that at the moment, so it'll be fine, I'm sure. What could possibly go wrong? Let's see here. Our second army is going to be in position in time for us to make this decision. There we go. Everyone's in position. So now it's time for us to deal with this. The treacherous Ukrainians have deserted the Reichspakt, jeopardizing the sphere of influence in Eastern Europe that we have spent 20 years carefully constructing. Many hotheads in the General Staff have suggested direct military action to punish the new syndicalist government and deter other potential insurrections. Doing so could be extremely unwise, however, as Ukraine possesses one of the largest armed forces in Europe. They are critical for our long-term plans as a bulwark against a belligerent Russia. Members of the Abwehr have instead suggested we ought to use our ties with many senior Ukrainian army officials to institute a reactionary coup d'etat in Kiev. The choice now is how we should react to this clear betrayal. Crush the syndicalist traitors! And they're no longer our puppet, and we declare war. We're going to call in several of our allies and puppets. So Poland, White Ruthenia. Lithuania. And the United Baltic Duchy. Get called in on this one. And both armies get told to attack fucking now. I'm just gonna save the game. It's been a while, and despite everything, Kaiserreich is still technically in beta, and so quite unstable. I like to save where I can, just to prevent problems. So now, commence the invasion of the fucking Ukrainians. Seriously, fuck those guys. You two can attack over there, even if it doesn't do much. It might hold them in place. And our puppets and allies are getting in on this as well. The rest of the task has been secured. You two can attack there. They have one division cut off, and I have to address that pronto-like. Oh yeah. Sorry, Ukrainians, but you should not have become communist. You know damn well... what the fuck? How the actual fuck did they get forces over here? This is bullshit. Going to take some forces from the French front, have them move off, and start addressing that, I think. No real choice, frankly. Liberia has gone and declared independence. They've been a protectorate of the German Empire until now. It's changed after a totalist government came to power in a coup and declared their independence and banished all German advisors just from their government. Well, we're not exactly in a position to start another war to keep them under our sway. We have little choice but to let them be, quite honestly. Mittleafrika has declared war on Portugal. The Mozambique Bush War. Though there are some that believe old-fashioned colonial wars are a relic of the pre-Weltkrieg era, recent events in Africa have shown that man's thirst for battle on the Dark Continent is not in any immediate danger of abating. Growing tensions between German Mittleafrika and the Portuguese colonies have degenerated in recent months from somewhat farcical disputes involving little more than cattle raiding into open conflict in Mozambique and Angola, with colonial troops and their white officers on both sides waging fruitless guerrilla war that is sure to cost many lives. Well, if they think it's worth it, go on, I guess. Hello, Pixelar. Pixelzer, even. And thank you for following. As you can see, we're in a somewhat iffy situation right now. Somehow the freaking Ukrainians managed to invade us all the way over bloody here. I am still not sure how they managed to pull that one off, quite frankly. It's a little bit ridiculous. Hello. Hey, Belgium, you want to give me a hand with this? Fucking communists. Get your asses up there and start murdering their faces. War stimulates the economy. That's great. Tell me something I care about. Tell me the leader of their government has suddenly dropped dead and they unconditionally surrendered or something, because that would be great. Anyways, the guys we have over on the actual Ukrainian front can deal with that. Right now, I'm going to be dealing with the ones that somehow managed to pull off an invasion. Into freaking central Germany. Have I mentioned how absurd that is? Because it's absurd. Very absurd. Apparently our volunteer forces have returned home. I'm not sure why, but they have. Whatever. I'm not complaining. We can now murder some communist scumbags up close and personal. The Black Dossier. A group of anonymous officers and administrators in Mittleafrika have compiled documentation and evidence of illegal activity by Statthalter von Göring and presented it to the cabinet. The evidence, if true, is very serious. According to what they allege, Statthalter has been using the generous state budget we provided him to buy out politicians throughout the Reichspakt in order to secure support for his administration, as well as demanding state officials pay into a slush fund. Even more darkly, it alleges with less evidence that von Göring and his loyalists gather information for blackmail against his own employees, has been involved in the kidnapping and intimidation of journalists, and even hiring assassins. So, we could conduct a formal investigation, or just bury him. Well, we can't have one of our own subordinates kidnapping journalists and hiring assassins with money we gave him for state expenses. That just won't do at all. I don't care how many powerful men are involved. Unless, of course, it's the Kaiser himself being involved, then we'd have to bury it. But I don't think that's the case. A formal investigation must be conducted immediately. Go on then, do a formal investigation for me, yo. And everyone and their grandmother is lend-leasing us. And wants to join in our wars. Well, I won't say no. Now, seriously, I would love to know how the Ukrainians managed to get forces into little places like this. There is no way they managed to send transport ships around and do naval invasions and shit. What the fuck is going on here, really? Have they been sponsoring communist uprisings in core territories or something? Because that's the only thing I can think of that would cause this, like sponsored rebellions maybe. Aside from that, I just do not know. But we've really got to clean this shit up as soon as possible. Things have kind of stalled against the Ukrainians down there. I've got to finish them off up here. Then you head down to address that problem, I think. And then hit them from the other side, of course. Bloody communists. Approach Poland. Brentano's speech. Yesterday in the early afternoon, Centrum politician Heinrich von Brentano gave an impassioned speech on how the differences of the past must be laid aside in order to create a stronger European economic bloc that included even nations with which we have our differences. While not mentioned explicitly by name, it was obvious to most that he spoke of reconciling with our smaller neighbor Poland. Our relationship with Poland has been icy since the end of the Weltkrieg, and Polish nationalism has been a keen thorn in our Kaiser's side over the past 2 decades. Perhaps it is time to set aside our old animosity for the sake of the future. Only time will tell. So, we finished with Approach Poland. And now, I am going to finish Black Monday reforms. But first I want to check what that national spirit it's talking about actually is. Hey, Tavar. Oh. Well, that is a good one to get rid of. Finish Black Monday reforms. Seemed impossible, but the numbers confirm it. The crisis is nearing its end. The key point is that it is not over yet. There are still millions without jobs, and civil society has been stretched to breaking point. The catastrophe of Black Monday will leave marks for a generation, but this is the beginning of the end. Yeah. Unfortunately, my internet connection can't really handle anything above 480p, and my dad pays for our internet, and he's one of those people who doesn't really get the appeal of live streaming and playing video games for an audience, so for the moment, I have to put up with it being like this. At some point in the future, hopefully I can convince him that he should get better internet for the purpose of my live streaming and stuff, but right now it's just not an option. Yeah, well, just let me say this. I am also recording this, and I put up an edited version of the VODs over on my YouTube channel, so if you don't mind waiting a couple of weeks and such for me to do the editing, and you'd rather see the higher quality version again after the fact, then you can also find that there. And here's the link to that channel, by the way. Just so you know. It won't be up for a couple of weeks because I have to edit that stuff, and I kind of focus my editing time more on the YouTube exclusive series, since those take a lot more work than streaming this. Since with the streams, I generally just have to cut out the stuff that's just filler or me sitting on waiting screens or stuff. Anyways, yeah, things have sort of stalemated against the Ukrainians. But now, we're doing a pretty good job of clearing out the communist scum that dare to inhabit our sovereign homeland. For the Kaiserreich! Okay, admittedly I'm being a little bit overly dramatic right now, but what you gonna do? Let's just say I play a lot of RPGs and have a tendency to get a little bit too much in character in a lot of places, and Kaiserreich is definitely one of those places. You head off and do that. You guys can assist with the cleanup. Once I finish up down there, we should be able to push against those guys. Yeah. But again, the fuck. I still have no idea why these little pockets turned up, because I'm positive there wasn't a naval invasion that caused this to happen or anything. I would love to know why everything happened the way it is with this invasion crap. It just does not make any goddamn sense to me. How we just had a bunch of random pockets of Ukrainians turn up. Well, I'm glad it's reasonable. I usually can't scream uber loud or be dramatic because, like I said about my dad in video games, he just doesn't get why I would do things like that. Fortunately, he is not here at the moment. He's off in Asia on vacation, and I am here in Southwest Virginia. So yeah, that's a thing. Denmark offers an economic deal. Our small neighbor Denmark has been hit hard by the very Black Monday plague that sweeps our nation as well. In an attempt to soften the blows, the Danish government seeks to make imported Danish goods more attractive. To that end, they want to lower the exchange rate of the Danish krone to our mark, two currencies that are pegged to each other within the Middle Europa system. In return for our cooperation, the Danish state offers to buy additional German goods as compensation. Go on then. Either scream, "For den Kaiser," or you are not a real loyalist. Yeah, it's obvious that you're from Germany. I am American through and through and cannot bloody pronounce most German names, I'm afraid. So, yeah. I've tried before, but my pronunciation is horrible, and I butcher basically all words in German horribly. Though to be fair, I butcher German less horribly than I butcher Russian, so that's something, I guess. There is that, I guess. If nothing else, then I'm not butchering it as badly as I would if we were talking about Russian. The communist scum that have dared to invade our sovereign territory are being pushed back. Excellent. Now you guys, prepare to get your asses fucking overrun. These idiots over here do not want to be overrun, even though they justly should be. Okay, Finland and Sweden have dealt with their problems. That's nice. And things might be turning around a little bit. Not totally sure. You head on up there. Yes. Communism used to be the lesser evil when compared to British and French imperialism. Yeah, that is kind of amusing to think about, especially in the context of Kaiserreich. It really is. Oh great, Honduras has annexed Nicaragua. Let's see where that is. I am god-awful with South American geography, so I always have to check stuff like this. Yeah, Honduras has annexed Nicaragua. The Americans aren't going to do anything about that because they're in the middle of a civil war. And for whatever reason, the volunteers I sent the Union State to help out with that, they got recalled. Not that I'm complaining, because it means I have more bodies to throw at the communist scum. Seriously, Ukraine, what the fuck is wrong with you? Joining the enemy? Oh yeah, and Saudi Arabia has joined the Cairo Pact. With the eruption of war in North America, the balance of power is suddenly and perhaps irrevocably changed. There will be consequences for the region and beyond, which the Cairo Pact, yeah, that's just basically them in Egypt. Meaning that's the alliance of, we don't like the Ottoman Empire, so let's kick them out of everything in the Middle East that's not Anatolia. So that ought to be fun. George Michaelis dies. The former Reichschancellor George Michaelis died today at the age of 78, succeeding von Bethmann-Hollweg as Imperial Chancellor in 1917, the first and until now only commoner to have acceded to the post of German Chancellor. He was considered by many as the stooge of the Hindenburg-Ludendorff dictatorship, being forced to resign and replaced by Hindenburg after Ludendorff grew dissatisfied with him in 1919. As a former Reichschancellor, he received a state funeral, but the Kaiser pointedly refused to attend. He was a commoner and a stooge, but a chancellor above all. Okay. Deal with that, please. And continue squishing the communist trash. A new Stalter. With von Goering gone, we must select a new Stalter. While he is disgraced, there is still hope for a new colonial regime to bring order to the colony. Or perhaps the old ways advocated by the Deutsches Kolonialgesellschaft. I am terribly sorry for my utterly horrific pronunciation of that. Are best. Or lastly, reform may be the only way to prevent exactly this kind of behavior. I presume that's referring to... yeah, it's talking about Mittleafrika. So, keep the regime, the old guard knows best, or reform is the new way forward. I'm going to stay with the new regime because we are trying to roleplay as the Kaiser, and very much the idea of reform is a bit of an anathema the way we're doing it. And even if there were some problems, it works, right? You wouldn't be wrong with that assumption. You certainly would not be wrong. That's a pretty accurate guess when it comes to me, honestly. And KR Statthalter. While von Goering may be disgraced, our larger colonial project for Mittleafrika remains. We need strong, forward-thinking leadership to take over. Who can we trust? Let's see. Send them Fritz Thyssen to protect business interests in Africa. Gotta be honest, I have no goddamn idea who any of these people are, so I'm just kind of picking someone at random. Basically, and I just went with the business guy because reasons, essentially. Yeah. You guys, get your asses down there. Sure, it'll be fine. Colander... Krupp Steel. Oh. Okay. Well, at least we'll get some nice steel out of Africa now, even if it does continue on with the theme of brutally repressed native populations. Not that this current German administration probably gives much of a shit about that, to be honest. Hawaiian royalty visits Berlin. The Hawaiian royal family has come to Berlin in order to meet with the German royal family and other notable dignitaries. They spent their day touring the sights of Berlin as well as private meetings with the political leaders of the country. The relations between the German Empire and the Kingdom of Hawaii have improved because of this visit. Aloha from Germany. Yes, only one genocide. Well, That's positively humanitarian compared to some. Let's see. Oh yeah, honestly, I'd totally forgotten about this, but one of the side effects of the American Civil War in Kaiserreich is Hawaii declaring independence. I always forget about that because I never really check anything. And the Princely Federation is now at war with basically everyone. So that's nice. That's real nice. Concentrated Industry Level 2 is donezo. So get me more production efficiency. These communists are just being so annoying. Like, I've mentioned this about 1 billion times before, but I have no idea how they just managed to grab that territory in the center of my damn nation. The only thing I can think of is they had some covert operations to foment insurrection or something, and it resulted in a bunch of uprisings, and these are actually technically Germans, German communist rebels, rather than actual Ukrainian soldiers. That's the only thing I can think of, and to be honest, even that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Let's kill those guys, then we can go down and kill those. You two get down in that general area. And Kolsberg over here, yeah. Franco-German War, there were also uprisings in Germany. Okay. I guess it makes sense that maybe it's the Ukrainian syndicalist government supporting partisans inside Germany because they'd be worried about a direct military confrontation with the Germans, so that's their way to kind of even the odds by forcing me to divert some of my armies to deal with that. So that kind of makes more sense, I guess. I mean, it's not totally the most logical explanation out there, but it works, and that's the important bit. But that's the end of those particular bands of partisans. So we can just focus on dealing with Ukraine itself. It's going slowly, but we are currently attacking Kiev, so Ukraine's not going to have their original capital for very long. Ugh. If you're going to attack, then at least bring additional available forces, will you? The fuck? Attack them. Hey Tavar, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. The fall of Kiev. Oh yes. We have Kiev now. Bad news for the Socialist Republic of Ukraine today, as the Ruthenian army have completed its assault upon the ancient capital. Initial reports suggested the Ukrainian defenders would be able to hold them at the bridges in a protracted siege. The many avenues over the river proved too much to hold. with Ruthenian troops on either side of the river and scattered defenders surrendering on the isles, gave us fallen to the invaders. Now, you guys move in there and help them out on that front. Yeah, don't worry about it, I understand. Thanks for coming out, by the way. Appreciate it. Oh, you idiots. Let's check you guys out. We're a good ways towards forcing them to surrender. We've just got to keep on pushing forward. And I'm going to add to our initial battle plan a little. I'll only trigger them a bit later down the line, but we're going to add on. Wait. 5 divisions? The fuck? Okay. Let's add to this properly now. 10. There. These guys are moving on down. The Savoyard crisis resolved. A few days ago, a demand from the Commune of France was telegraphed to the Swiss government. Cede the province of Haute-Savoie under threat of armed coercion. The French characterized their demand as a need to end the persecution of the French population within the province. The Swiss government decided to avoid war and agreed, stating that a peaceful transfer of ownership was preferable to bloodshed. This is a victory for the French government, which has already declared the reclamation of Haute-Savoie a victory for the world's working class. Syndicalism spreads, goddammit. Fucking syndicalism is spreading like a disease, and we need to stamp it out as a matter of urgency. It's a matter of fucking urgency to stamp out this disease. Commonwealth of Canada annexed Panama. That's right, I almost forgot, but Canada did actually declare war on Panama over the canal that Canada wanted and Panama took first, most likely. Yeah.